Hello Taurus, welcome to your reading with me, Cindy. So Taurus, we are going to look at your current and future energies. I'm going to do it in a little bit of an in-depth way here. So I want this way and the cards don't fall off. There we go. Okay, I'm in a spare room because there's construction going on in the yard behind my house. It's quite noisy. So I'm at this side of the house. Lily's on the bed here with me. We fight for space, so that might happen in the reading. I don't know. She always wins. It's all good. All right, I'm going to start with the archetype deck, and then I'm going to go into the Wild Unknown Oracle to see what influences your archetypal energy, and then we're going to use the tarot to develop and ask about 6 key questions, 3 of which have to do with current energy, and 3 have to do with future. So my bovine babies, let's see what we got here. What do we got here? Taurus. Come on. Fuss with me. All right, Taurus. Current and future energies for Taurus. Funny split. Currently, dilettante delights in the arts without having to be a professional. Actually, right there, I just want to stop. Immediately, I got like, I saw someone like as a hobby, like doing something that's very artistic and creative, but as a hobby, but it's not necessarily anything that's generating like an income, or you're not a professional at it. So it's just got that right away. Alert you to the danger of becoming superficial in your pursuits. Okay, so now this is interesting. Now what's coming in with that is I'm actually seeing someone do oh, interesting. That's such an interesting energy. A message that's coming in. I can't even remember what it was called, but I watched on Netflix. I gotta talk to my accountant. I'm sure I must be able to tax deduct Netflix for how many times it comes into my readings, right? So, there was was it the biosphere? And I forgot about it because it kind of happened when I was younger, or I guess maybe starting university, I think that time period. So I wasn't really paying attention to the news. The biosphere. Now, I guess Americans would be more familiar with it than anyone in this group because it took place in the US. But it was the whole concept of, now bear with me because this is coming in here, which is really fascinating. That last part of your alert you to the danger of becoming superficial in your pursuits with a dilettante. So, I mean, I kind of triggered memories about the biosphere. Oh yeah, these people are going into this biosphere and they're going to live in there for a couple of years. It's completely self-contained and closed off. It produces its own oxygen, all that stuff, right? So, but this was really interesting because you got to a bit of a background on, I guess in a way I would call him a bit of a genius. And I can't even remember his name. I don't recall any of the names in it, which is unfortunate because they're really intelligent people with a different way of looking at things. Just like, none of these people came, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, like maybe some of them probably did have some sort of higher education connected to what they were doing in this group, and even cult-like, but really even businesses become cult-like in some degree, and that was mentioned in this documentary. I thought, yeah, it's quite true. Like, you know, the Apple culture, or the any culture, Google culture, all that stuff. So they also, like, they traveled around. Like, you would originally think this was a bunch of engineers and biologists, right? Zoologists or whatever, botanists. These were artists. These were actors, like, not actors. I don't mean like actors in the sense that, you know, they portray stories and they become famous and they get awards and they make millions of dollars. No. This is like acting and storytelling in the basic human culture of that. And like what it truly is. Like almost like Shakespearean, like on the stage and doing like a lot of theatrical exercises where they pretend to be animals, and it's all like, even if you think about Buddha, when he became enlightened, he roared like a lion. So there's a type of enlightenment that comes with being able to be this flexible and mutable and creative, okay? They used that to create the biosphere. They built a ship. They built a bloody ship. And I don't mean like a little boat. A big ass ship. They built a big ass ship. Like what these people did was astronomical. They probably could have used a little more scientific backing with it. And if they had done that, it would have been, I don't know what they could have created. But really I have like the deepest respect and admiration for what these people were able to do. It didn't quite succeed. But, you know, because what I'm getting with this, alert you to the danger of becoming superficial in your pursuits. When I said that, I immediately saw like scenes from that documentary where they were like role playing and acting exercises and stuff, because they would also travel the world and do performances and stage for people to see. They would do this. The guy running this, I wish I could remember his name. He would utilize that to identify people's strengths and weaknesses and what they might be good at in terms of working in the group and creating these things. And that is so thinking outside of the box. Like it's incredibly genius. And they started off with a commune that they created. And I thought, God, wouldn't it be cool to live like that? Like I just love the whole concept of it. If you can all respect each other's space, and not a lot of politics gets into it, that's always the trick, right? They still live there together today. I thought this is just amazing. Like this is like, what, 50 years later from when they started this? This is, I want to say, whatever your current energy is genius. It's genius, but be careful with it. It's not that you won't create and you may not get as much success as you could. Like you may not make the biosphere work for 2 years if you don't incorporate a bit of science or proven statistical engineering. Because they were delighting in the artistry of life. And that took them to heights that a lot of engineers would never accomplish. So, like, it was really quite fascinating. Now the shadow, let's get to the shadow. I'm really focused on your light. Maybe you're not even there. What are you doing in the shadow? Okay, pretension to much deeper knowledge than you actually possess. There we go. That's the danger here, because that's exactly the downfall of the biosphere. Is it's having that balance to this beautiful human creation and inspiration, and utilizing that in a way that is really forgotten today. It is highly, highly forgotten, but it is an element of what generates human success and ingenuity that has been lost. And it is the part of human success and ingenuity that got us to where we are today. So it should not be forgotten. It is just, it's genius. It's a life in process. It's beautiful. But know its limitations. So I don't know where you sit with this. Anyway, so let's look at the future. Poet. Expresses soul insights in symbolic language. Oh my God, that's beautiful. But the shadow turns a lyric gift to negative or destructive effect. That's exactly what ended up happening with the biosphere, because it wasn't making enough oxygen. All of a sudden there was too much. Oh, come. Yes, I make room for. Oh, I know. You're joking. I can't twist and bend like that. My ankle and my back will go out. Oh shit, you distracted me. Turn on our gift in language. Okay, the CO2 was going up, right? But they had these, what were they called? CO2 burners, or they had installed those a little bit secretively, and then they were pumping some oxygen in. Everything was slowly dying in there. Everything was slowly dying. So I also want to say your, gosh, this is such a fine balance. Ingenious energy. But I don't want to tell you that whatever you're doing in life right now, or whatever creative projects you're doing, whatever could even be like work projects too, and you're utilizing these in a very unique way, or you're utilizing this energy into that in a very unique way. Like everything in the biosphere was starting to die. The people were dying and the animals were dying. The plants were probably doing great because there's tons of CO2 for them to work off of. But when they started pumping the oxygen back in, which is not something that, you know, you could even readily use this energy to say, we need more oxygen, because the mind becomes confused, the body becomes stagnant. So all of this life force energy kind of it starts to decompose. We're going to look at the underline in a second. Maybe you've already seen it. But there's the logical factor, right? Or the needing to have assessed this project in a more theoretically based way. Don't let it take over though, because that's the danger. This is floating on, it's funny because it's one of my favorite archetypes in this deck, is the engineer when it's in light energy, because this is, your energy is floating really on the cusp of coming up with practical and beneficial solutions to problems in life, but taking into account emotional consequences. That's what's so profound about what they were doing with the biosphere. Like there was so much humanity implanted, and that was part of the foundation of growing that. But it needed a little bit more of the analytical, the logical. So I'm telling you all this because I feel like that this is you somehow. So like you can turn what you're creating into something that is symbolic to life itself. Even like what I'm articulating to you is like the energy that is like, it's like I've like drenched myself into the soup of you. Like I'm even talking poetically in this energy that you have here. But if you fall too far into the shadow of these, you may think that you know more than you actually do. Or you may act like you know more than you actually do, which was the downfall of the biosphere, right? It really was. It's some things they didn't know, but God, they got so far with how little they knew. It was incredible. And then over here, this shadow, you turn this lyrical gift into negative or destructive effect, which is things start to die. The minute they started pumping oxygen in there, like the people that were in there, they just said, oh my God. All of a sudden I felt like I could run. I haven't run. I haven't done more than a couple steps. But they just got like foggier and foggier and more depleted in themselves. And all of a sudden they could do things. So, oh, what's the underline? I'm sitting in that energy because it's fascinating. What's wrong? Everything okay? Yeah, she's obsessed with food. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Athlete. Light attributes, dedication to transcending physical limits, including handicaps, development of personal willpower and strength of spirit. That's great. I mean, because they utilized every aspect of their bodies in the expression of themselves, in expressing to each other as well, and kind of in a way created a very healthy work environment up until the point that it became toxic. Right? Because I think they used theatrics to express and to work through emotional discomfort. It was really healthy. Where a lot of things become stifled, they become rules, they become regulations. You can't say that to that person because of this, that, and the other. Well, I'm telling you, if they can't say that to this person, it's going to manifest in a toxic way. If it can't come out to that person, it's coming out some other way. And that's not good. So, yeah. Okay, the shadow. Misuse of athletic ability for selfish ends. False sense of invulnerability and entitlement. It's interesting how this physical characteristic energy is coming out in you as the underline. Because you have this athlete at the bottom, I do want to also say if any of you are, yeah, because we're talking about physical elements here. I can't tell you how to do things, But be careful, because you could create toxicity for other people, and that's the key here. To see past your ego. This is also bringing to light to me the balance between, let's say, like more natural, holistic medicines and looking after yourself, as well as like scientifically proven discoveries in like medicine and physiotherapy and all of those sort of things as well. And it's also not to say that you can't end up with doctor, you know, the thing I think that all professionals should have beyond their certificates and their PhDs and their diplomas and all that stuff is showing us at what level of the class they graduated in. Because you can have someone who is a medical doctor over here and someone who is a medical doctor over here. This one graduated at the bottom of their class, and this one graduated at the top of their class. And you could also have someone who graduated at the top of their class and has a very low ethics, and someone who graduated at the bottom of their class and has a very high ethics. So just because something can be set in stone or printed on a piece of paper does not really cast a true value on what something is. It's our way of trying to articulate a value. Because what you're working in right here, right now, is something that I feel like you cannot even perhaps place a value on what that is. But the fact that this biosphere is coming into my head is like, you can go further with this than I think a lot of people could with a certificate in something. So, but the danger is to not utilize the certificate in something when you need it. Right? So maybe like, okay, even thinking of that, like, let's say you want to do something, or you're doing something right now that is like a homeopathic practice or Reiki healing or anything like that. I get a lot of that with Taurus energy. I have a feeling like a lot of you are really probably natural healers. You know what? Make sure you have insurance. Make sure you're like, well, I don't really want to get the patriarch involved in what I'm doing. You're here on earth right now. The patriarch is involved in what you're doing. So there is a sense of like protecting yourself to make sure, like take on some sort of practical thing to make sure that this fluid, incredible abundance continues to do what it does, because it changes humanity. I'll tell you right now, you're changing humanity, Taurus. You're changing humanity, but be careful of the fault lines in this, in the shadow, because it can come at you pretty quick. All of a sudden, there's no oxygen. There's too much CO2. Everything is slowly dying in this. The false sense of invulnerability. Maybe entitlement, maybe not. I'll tell you myself, I find the best doctors are the ones that practice more traditional types of medicine, and ones that also have a background in an education and more advanced types of medicine. Because then you're getting a holistic, very holistic. Very holistic. And they're hard to find though. They are hard to find. I had one, years ago, downtown Toronto. And yeah, he was good. He knew his shit. He knew his shit. He was a Chinese doctor, and he was he was very well educated in Chinese medicine and all about like energy as well. But he also was like a practicing physician in obviously Canada. He knew his shit. So I went there because a lot of women suffer this from endometriosis. And so you can Google that to know what it is. But really it is almost like, I feel it's something, and I haven't researched it in a long time to know how much further they've come with this, because this was a long time ago for me. But something that is an environmental condition around you that causes your body to react in a certain way, in an unhealthy way. And I tell you, I went to see so many different doctors, and he changed my diet. He changed my diet completely. He got me doing these, what do they call it? Qigong exercises to harness the energy of the universe and implant it into my kidneys. Within 1 month, I was cured. I'm not kidding. Like, it was just incredible. And then, so the problem I was having was getting pregnant. And then I got pregnant, And I went to see him. He did the test. He's like, yeah, you got like high numbers. Everything is really good. And then, so I said, so what do I do? He says, you have to completely change to what I told you to do before. And this was he looked at things. He said the energy and the nutrients and the environment that is created to give life is completely different from the energy, the nutrients, the environment that is created to grow life. So I'm like, wow, right? But he had all this medical background too. That's what I'm saying here. If you can combine the two of those, you can do amazing bloody things with it. It is incredible. So now that we've really we only pulled out these cards so far from this reading, Taurus. Let's keep going. So yeah, actually, to save questions, because I know people are going to ask questions. So how did he change my diet? He put me on the microbiotic diet. It was fucking hard. You can look that up. You can Google it. It's basically and it's all too about the life that exists within food. The biggest thing for me was dairy, and that's still a thing that I avoid as much as I can now, and particular meats. But I find if I go organic with the meat, it's just it's amazing how it changes your body. But there's so many, and even getting away from anything that has plastics in it and artificial. There's so much plastic mimics estrogen. And so estrogen is the cause of a lot of too much estrogen in the system for endometriosis. And also a lot of the more feminine attributes that masculine energies also start to harness. Going with this shit. It's just like my Gemini rising. Blah, 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 blah. I've learned this. Blah, blah, blah. It's coming out. Look out. Here it comes. Okay. What is influencing this amazing energy, Taurus? Amazing. If you can keep it in the light. If you can balance it. This dilettante. What is influencing this? Oh, darkness, the panther. You know what? The universe. The universe is freaking working with you. Oh my God. This is my strongest protector in the universe. If you're not, I know some of you are probably really familiar with it, been with me for a while. If you're not, sit back and hear the story of this guide. This guide is, at one time this is the message that I received about this energetic guide that comes through at times. And it often comes through in some of the most difficult times that anyone is going through. This is the energy of sort of I guess a fallen angel. It was the energy that was the right-hand man to very devilish energy. So it knows it. It knows it like the back of its hand. It knows it inside and out. It knows what motivates it. It knows what corrupts it. It knows what takes it down. It knows what feeds it. It knows everything about it. But it's elevated. It came out of that energy and it's elevated and it serves a purpose to humanity. And maybe it's some sort of karmic adjustment in its own path as well, is that it protects and it frees people from this type of energy that it is oh so familiar with. So see what I mean? It is one of the most, I feel one of the most important and powerful energy as a guide that comes out for me in this. What fuels it, I think perhaps is a sense of needing to understand and even protect, because this energy doesn't work for you. It works through you. So you have to work with it and it works with you. I would say it understands you and your circumstances on a much larger plane than you understand it and how it works through you, right? It's very elevated. And it's guiding you to elevate. I'm telling you, this is a great energy for humanity. We really need more of this on the planet. We need more of that concept of living in a commune or just expressing and finding healthy ways to express without having so many contracts and legalities and all of that stuff. But you can't, there is something here about the need, because of that biosphere, the need to have that in some element, but to keep both of these balanced is so important. I don't even know how you do it, right? Humanity tends to be swings, big swings all the time. What is influencing this poet energy in the future? Wow. The nightingale. It sings the light in the dark. It brings the light to the dark. And what is this but working through the dark? Working through your own darkness, working through your own difficulties, working through your own experiences with corrupt energy, and whether that is corrupting yourself and others corrupting you, and vice versa, and back and forth and around again. And then over here, this nightingale is just like hope. It's hope. And look at these two beautiful doves, like taking flight, right? The hope. The hope. And the nightingale is almost like singing the praise of these doves. The hope. I don't know what you're doing, Taurus, but it feels so beautiful, and it feels like hope. And you can't stop, because we need more people like that exist, that are actually living, breathing entities of people in the biosphere documentary. We need more of that for humanity. We have so many PhDs and BSSs, CHTs and whatever. The unicorn. Oh God, beautiful, Taurus, so beautiful. The unicorn. The magic that is unseen, but that incorporates everything. And it's just waiting to be touched and utilized. Oh, I love this. I love this reading. I feel like now I have to get into the practical with the tarot. Which is funny, right? From a tarot reader, anyone that I tell what I do. Really? Sorry. But from a reading, as a reader, now we're getting practical. Now we're getting into the tarot. What have you been working on? Okay, currently we're going to ask, what have you been working on? It's interesting. What have you been healing, and what is starting to blossom? This is current energy. And then in the future, we're going to look at what will you finish working on, what will be healed, and what will be ready to harvest. Is here to remind you that you need to protect yourself from things on earth. Because this panther is in the earthly element, which is where the lower vibrational frequencies exist. What have you been working on? The Eight of Wands. Some form of movement and communication here. Being the right kind of leader, I'm getting with this as well. Just because we have the geese in the V formation. Witnessing and identifying strengths and weaknesses. Because that's what occurs with the Canada geese. When they're lining up in the V formation. I don't know, the other geese fly in V formations as well? But what they basically do is they're constantly communicating with each other. Who is feeling more robust? Obviously, I don't know what their language is, but they have a way of doing it. And maybe it's also like just, it could be hormonal. It could be the tone in their voice. Like all of these things are quite interesting, because these are also all of the things that are connected to the more deeply part of being like human. You know, when I talked about the way they would express themselves, they really didn't run into a lot of argument. I kept waiting actually for it to become a point in time in that story of the biosphere. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. Okay, something's going to happen here. There's some dirt on somebody, or somebody was messing around with somebody's wife or husband, or this person doesn't like that. It never really came out. I think like things got kind of stressful in the biosphere when they were running out of oxygen. But they always worked it out. And by God, they're all living together still. That's incredible. So it is a way of expressing oneself to keep things healthy and holistic and moving forward. You know, we'll get that right here, moving forward to do that. And identifying who's strong today. You can go at the front and help to kind of break the wind resistance and help everyone else. Who's feeling really, I didn't sleep good, I'm not feeling good. That's fine. Happens to all of us. You got at the back and it'll be easier ride for you today. Interesting reading. It is paying witness and homage to all the weaknesses and strengths within oneself and one another, and creating beauty within this. What have you been healing? The Nine of Pentacles. I feel like there's something tiny that you've been looking after. And it's almost like it's related to the flock, because it's a little bird in her hand. There's something tiny here that you've been looking after that's related to the flock. Some of you may even be like energetically or physically protecting creative energies around you as well, like nurturing these. There is a sense though too in healing self, creating abundance for self. You create the capacity to give to others. You've been, I think too, like healing your concept of self-governance, healing your concept of sovereignty, healing your concept of, I'm hearing ingenuity. So that's, I wouldn't connect that to the Nine of Pentacles, but it's what I'm hearing. What is starting to blossom? The Hermit. Or kind of like everything you've discovered within yourself is likely perhaps about to come out in a more observant way, like in a way that others observe more clearly. So maybe a lot of whatever this artistic expression is something that others do not see yet. Like it could be something that you were just really, really working internally here as well. What's wrong? What will you finish working on in the future? That's okay. You're going to jump down? Okay. Oh, no. Bad. Wow, the Emperor. Oh, Lily, I think you knocked the camera. The Emperor. Well, go and see. Go and see. Don't hold yourself back. I think you're jiggling the bed. You gonna go? What's bothering you? I don't hear it, but you have the superpower ears. I'm gonna relax now. What have you been? What will you finish working on? The Emperor. It is like, talk about like leadership, the ways that you lead. What have you been working on? And what? Look at this. That's so cool. Like right now, what have you been working on here? And the Eight of Wands. This card just talks so much about who's the leader today, who's not feeling the strongest today. And you're going to finish working on this in the future. Leadership. The idea of leadership, the concept of leadership. You know, what I like about this Emperor is he's not in a castle here. He's right in the middle of the storm. The big waves. Are those waves? Or are they hills? I mean, it looks like water, but there's a path that leads to it. The open Emperor, the Emperor out in the open. Right? Because you're blossoming the Hermit. So it's like coming out of a period of stagnancy. I don't know why I'm saying stagnancy. That was almost like channeled. So maybe feeling a little bit stagnant. Maybe feeling like you need more inspiration in life here. Because inspiration does also come from outside of ourselves. What will be healed? The Star. Your concept of achievement. Your concept of achieving. Being connected to your true dreams here. Finding the light in the darkness. Releasing your dreams. I don't know what this little bird is. It's almost something that you've been holding and nurturing. What will be ready to harvest for you? Ah, the King of Cups. I love it. Your deepest emotions. I feel like the King of Cups too, to me, he would be like, I wish I could remember the gentleman's name who started the whole, it was like the figurehead really, and the leader, I guess, of the biosphere and this group of people. But like that would be it, right? Like this is a very poetic and forward thinking, hopeful, dreamy energy. You know, it's funny, it's coming in this reading, something that I think about, I haven't thought about it in a while, but I find like people are always excited about the concept of what we're moving into, what we're going to be. And I feel like whenever we're doing that, we're not living in the present, and we're not, it's bad. It's not great. And one of the things that comes up so much is this hopefulness for the age of Aquarius. And there's nothing to go against Aquarians, but Aquarius is air energy. Air energy is not always the truth. But one of the things that I feel that I would miss when we move, this is still a couple hundred years away. I know people say we're in the age of Aquarius. It's still actually a couple hundred years away. So we are moving there though, is that all this energy that I'm picking up on in your reading right now is Piscean energy, because that's the age that we're in right now. It is a very balanced Piscean energy. And when Piscean energy is balanced like this, you can find solutions to problems that could never be mathematically equated, right? Yeah, like, wow, you know what I'm trying to say. Like, it's just, there are solutions to problems that the mind itself cannot figure out. I myself am a little bit worried about the age of Aquarius could be a colder, a more analytical period in humanity's history. I'm in no rush to get to the age of Aquarius because that's sword energy, and we already have, we can see where that's going. We already have, like what I talked about, like all of these rules and all of these regulations, and yes, in some capacity they are important, but they are taking over our lives because we're going there. So don't be so quick and excited to move into different ages. You have to appreciate where you are now, and what you're doing with where you are now is really nice. It's beautiful. So I see you'll be ready to harvest a new type of leadership. Perhaps even, like, I'm sitting here looking at the Emperor, I'm like, it looks like waves, but I guess it's the ground, it's the hillside. It almost feels like having like this deep emotional connection in what leadership is. This comes from the heart. This comes from your hopes and your dreams and your adoration for self and those around you, regardless of what they're doing well or not doing well today. The Eight of Cups is at the bottom. What is it that you're walking away from? I don't know. I didn't pick up on that at all in this reading. I still got the clarifiers. Don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. We still want to look into this even more deeply. Just drop in that cup. There's seven cups in the background, and she's got one in her hand and she's dropping it and she's walking away. Okay, the other thing that I'm getting with this too is I do see her, this woman to me is dressed in a depiction of what I would imagine someone who would have come earlier, like a long time ago, you know, during the slave trade period, walking away from like a little shanty, a shack, and she has a more traditional attire on for kind of like her heritage. It's almost to like, this underlying energy feels like truly walking into your destiny, releasing your emotional attachment to things that you were conditioned to believe you should be attached to, and finding your true human heritage, your true human heritage. Because the swords can be absolutely ruthless. And it's not to say that any energy can't be. But it can put you in a corner with words, and it doesn't have to be the truth. So remember that about how excited you are about to go into the age of Aquarius, because it's an evolutionary process that we do need to go through. But you just might miss where you've been when you get there. More humanitarian. But the 11th house and the Aquarian energy, to me, is like Borg. I would describe that like Borg, right? Like for the good of the collective, without considering the need of the one, is that energy as well. It's a very philosophical reading, Taurus. So dilettante, archetype of dilettante is where you are right now. The 8 of Cups. The 5 of Swords. The Page of, okay, the 8 of Cups, the Page of Wands, the 2 of Cups, the 5 of Swords. You are, I'm telling you, like you are walking away from concepts here. Concepts in terms of you're walking away from perhaps even communicating. What are you walking away from? You're walking away from communicating the 2 of Cups and ending something. That's a very curious energy. But are you walking towards this to cut something out? Because she's walking this way into the cards. Why is the Panther here? The Panther is the King of Cups, the 10 of Wands, the Ace of Pentacles, and the Queen of Pentacles. There you are. Okay, the Panther is here because it's influencing you to get to what you're meant to harvest, to be who you're meant to be. It is to see beyond the weight of attachment with the 10 of Wands. It is to find new prospects and opportunities and nurture these into life. You're definitely walking away from any sort of superficial pursuits here. And these superficial pursuits could also involve relationships with the 2 of Cups. 8 of Wands. What have you been working on? The 4 of Cups and success. Wow. Oh! Okay, so the 4 of Cups, this dude is looking at 3 cups that aren't serving him and missing the real opportunity here. Maybe that's what this 2 of Cups is connected to. Like the 2 of Cups is supposed to be like energy that gets along really well with one another. It's yin and yang, it's celebrating together, it's agreeing on things. Maybe there's a sense of agreeing on things for the sake of agreeing on it, as opposed to actually like working through it. And the 5 of Swords is cutting that out. This energy feels, too, as I'm reading it, like it's really picking up on the wholeness of you. Like this isn't just one particular element of your life. It could be, but it's yet, although whatever you're going through or working through, it's kind of permeating you and changing everything about your life. What have you been healing? The 9 of Pentacles? The Queen of Wands, the Devil, and the 2 of Wands, and the 5 of Wands. Well, this with the Nine of Pentacles attached to that, it feels like you've been healing who or what people think you should be and how or in what way you should express that. And well, let's cause conflict with us. You shouldn't do that. You can't do that. You're healing that. And I love that you have was starting to blossom as the Hermit. So probably really having looked at yourself here for some time. The Hermit. The Two of Pentacles and the Seven of Swords. What's starting to blossom? It's almost like something that you've been working on behind the scenes. Something that you've been trying to balance in your life behind the scenes and no one can see it. You're hiding something. You're hiding something. Something you've been hiding or hiding from is starting to blossom. In the future, you have this poet, which is really beautifully connected to the King of Cups. You have the Knight, the King of Wands, and Judgment. So you're choosing your way to go with something. You're in charge of your new beginning and how that's going to happen. And I love it because she's singing music and playing with a cat. It's totally like the energy of those people in the biosphere. The biosphere 2, is that what they call it? Because biosphere 1 is Earth itself. I thought that was pretty cool. And creatively. King of Wands is also very creative, very passionate. I mean, look at him. He looks like he's ready to stand on the stage in a Shakespearean play. And this guy's, he's got the knickers and the lederhosen to do it. The Nightingale. The King of Pentacles and the Nine of Cups. This is like building the biosphere, like, but it's your dream and your wish. It's building, it's, okay, the foundation, the abundance, the prosperity that you have in your life, the structures that will be based around that will be based on your emotional, your dreams, your wishes. Yeah, it's beautiful. And it's not to say either there aren't a lot of negative things that come with being in the age of Pisces. There is, for sure. But just, you know, why are we always so quick? I just see everyone is always so quick to run out of this and go to the next thing. The next thing is not always better. Just saying. That's all I'm saying. What will you finish working on in the future is the Emperor. Oh, funny how that happened. The Knight of Wands and the Six of Swords. What drives you forward? How are you driven forward? How do you lead forward? How do you show your leadership moving forward? The Star. What will be healed? Oh, nice. I'd like to see that. Oh, sword energy will be healed. The King of Swords and the Knight of Swords. I know everything and you can't tell me otherwise, and that's what we're driving forward with. Thank you, Mr. Age of Aquarius, for coming to the reading. Like, you talking about me? Yeah, I'm talking about you. I have a North Node in Aquarius, so I'm not down following anybody here. The King of Swords and the Knight of Swords. This tells me, like, to heal this with a Star is that a realization that you do not always know the truth. It's a bit of a humble energy here. A realization that you do not always know the truth and you do not always have to force your truth with King of Swords and the Knight of Swords. Because the Six of Swords is letting the universe take a bit of the control here. And the only thing you need to do is to fuel the engine that the universe provides you with your drive and your passion. King of Cups, what will be ready to harvest? Oh, the Page of Cups and the Two of Swords. This really feels like being a great leader of the heart, like taking those that are still trying to work through their expressions, their delights in artistic endeavors, avoiding superficial pursuits, but not really having the answer how to do that. Like being a provider with answers. You'll be ready to harvest this. This could even be you, like not knowing where you're going to end up, or where am I taking things, or where's that going to take me, and not having the answer for that, and realize it wasn't meant to take you anywhere. It was meant to grow you into being something. She booped the camera again. She's a little camera booper. So the Chariot is at the bottom. This way or that way, whichever way you please. It's really good. So that's beautiful. I'm going to go do the extended. In the extended, we're going to look at the in-between energy between the current you and the future. And one of the things I'm going to look at, 3 of the things: personal challenges in the in-between, distractions to be aware of, and area to focus on. Thank you so much, Taurus. Until next time, do be gentle with yourselves. Bye.